Okay, so now we've been through how to draw out the execution flow of for loops and if statements and regular methods. And so now let's do this monster example and just put the whole thing together. So we have this method called lots going on. First it runs a for loop, just printing out all the strings in a list. Then it checks inside the list if list.contains dog. Then it prints out dogs. If the list doesn't contain dogs, it prints out no dogs. And then, of course, it prints out done. Well, not of course. I mean, not every method has a print done at the end, obviously. So this is kind of the flow. Let's draw this whole thing out. So we start with the start. And that's, of course, this curly bracket. The first statement in here gets its bubble. Here we go. So this is a for loop. And then it's just for string in the list. And sometimes, like, you could write also if there is a next. You know, if more items in the list, you can write something descriptive in here that links it back to the for loop and helps you understand kind of the dynamics of what's going on. And if there are more things in the list, then we go into this statement, which is the true block of the for loop. So we say print s. And then once this line of code is done, it doesn't just jump to this line of code. Instead, it goes back up to the for loop to check again to see if there are more items in the list. So that's the loop structure. And then if this is false, however, we come down here and we execute this if statement. So we say if list contains dog. So that's our descriptive bubble that corresponds to this statement. And if it does contain the string dog, then we go into the true block of this if statement, print dog. And that's if it's true. And if it's false, then we go into the else block instead. So we print no dogs. And remember, the print dog doesn't feed into the else statement. It doesn't go from here to here. It's going to skip over the else statement and go straight to print done. So this if statement is going to end and keep going. It doesn't loop because it's not a loop. It's just a conditional statement that will continue executing. So once print dog has been printed inside of this block, we go right down to print done. And otherwise, we print no dogs, and then we come down to print done. And then from print done, we go to the end of the method. So now you know how to depict execution flow in a method, and you have a couple of good conditional and control structures under your belt. You now know how to write a for loop, well, a for each loop, but for loops are pretty similar, so this gives you the idea of how looping works, and you know how to deal with conditional behavior.